Well, welcome back to another episode, the Audionals show. What an exciting couple of weeks, getting my first song out, and then the second song out, and then putting out a song for a whole other artist. And now I'm looking back to get some more of my own music out. Been talking to a few other musicians who do stuff on chain, so there's lots going on. Super interesting, and but also knackering. Haven't really got much of a plan for today's show. I was just thinking I'll just wing it, and play some of the music that we've kind of built on chain till now. You know, it's I've gone from starting these shows and kind of praying for having some actual recursive music to play, and now I'm at that point where I've got some to play. It's kind of almost enough to fill an hour. It's kind of nice that that's all there is right now. But soon, when other people start jumping on board, it's going to grow really quickly. So it's kind of quiet time like right now, and it's nice that I just got a few different pieces of music to play. So I'm just going to start out. I've got a load of tabs open. This is always a recipe for disaster. I'm going to try and play some of these things live. Sometimes I have to revert to a recording. So I was just quickly recording the new song before the show, just so that I've got it ready to go in case my laptop can't handle it, which I think I know in my heart of hearts it's not going to be able to, but I'm going to give it a go. I've got loads of tabs open, but also because I just wanted to kind of go back over in brief just some of the conversations that I've had over the last few weeks. It's been really great having some guests on the show. It's been really nice connecting with loads of different people who all want to either just get behind what I'm doing or collaborate and take their own innovations into a broader context. But I thought I'd start by going back to I Love Cheese, which is it was the very first recursive song that I actually inscribed, to test the initial model to make sure that it worked. Just realizing I didn't set up Chrome in the OBS here. Oh, also realized I've cut to a screen I didn't mean to cut to. I was saving that. How have I done that? I'll come back to that. But yeah, you can see here, truth. At one point, when we launched during that day, this is only like the hourly chart or something, but hey, it got up to number 3, which was, the whole sale blew my expectations. But to see it sitting there underneath Runestone was something else. But yes, let me move that away, because that it was supposed to be that. That's how I usually open, isn't it? But yeah, so I Love Cheese was the first song that I inscribed. I can't remember, it's around 2 million or something in terms of inscription numbers. But it's where everything kind of started, and it's actually the link is that the next song that I'm going to be inscribing and hopefully doing as an airdrop to people who hold one of each of the first 2 songs. So I'm going to show that off tonight anyway, and then hopefully I'll be able to sort out the technology to gather the data and sort out this airdrop so that everyone who's really following along and has bought one of each can get something properly for free, I hope, this time. So yeah, let's crack on. yeah, so that's where it all began. I think I said 2 million. It can't have been 2 million. I think my experiments were just starting around then. Let's have a look at what this actually was. I'm playing it in here also because it doesn't play on the inscription page properly. 28 million. So this was the first, the first recursive player. It's a remix of Rex Speedway. Rex Speedway were putting some cool samples, like sort of punk samples, on chain. So it was a cool opportunity to remix it in like an early piece of art. Yeah, so that's the one that I wanted to actually distribute, because I never made more than one of these. This is the only one that I made. I think there may be some other prototypes that perhaps didn't work, but this is the working one, and it was supposed to be, I was going to do a collection of 111, and again, I just never really got into that mindset. I was just too busy sort of still building, so I never did that. So it'd be nice to do that at some point, to get that collection to see the light of day, but it might just be a hand-drawn thing, because actually I've done the code for these. I hadn't used any tricks in terms of numbering them or anything. I've just got them all individual. They've all got their own little color effects, the way the numbers show up and stuff, so maybe I'll just put them out as they're intended to be. They're already fairly small files. I think, what's this one? It's yeah, less than a kilobyte. It's quite big, but it's not too big. So yeah, that was what started things. And I guess now that I showed you what was going on with Truth on the Magic Eden, it's been doing very well over here on Gamma as well. Both Truth and Freedom have been in the top traded collections for the last week or two. I'd love to see an entire chart filled with music. I mean, preferably not all mine. That might not be fair, but just to see some of the other musicians who are bringing stuff in, for us just to kind of flood these charts, because we're sat on an absolute, a gold mine here with what could come. It's so it's so simple. It's so simplistic with just me putting my music out. But once there's a few different musicians, we can start to get real charts of different genres, and all this stuff going will be super cool. But yeah, it's been amazing seeing these creations in the charts, so it's I just hope I can keep delivering, but also keep drawing people in, so that there's lots more stuff coming. And I don't just mean songs either, and singles like I've been kind of putting out. I mean, projects that are engaging. I've got some really interesting stuff coming along with regards to generative stuff for audio as well as the visual. Obviously, all the ones that I'm putting out currently have this awesome long-form visual display created by Squeezy, where no two of them will ever be alike. Even with like 1 million songs and 1 million of each, no two would be the same. Which is super cool. But yeah, we can also apply that to the audio, and I know some people were kind of expecting me to do that when I put the first collection out, but that wasn't my main goal. My main goal was just to show that this is open to musicians. This isn't actually a crypto thing. It doesn't have to be collectible, doesn't have to have traits. Just need to have fans who want to engage with you in Web3, in a Web3 style, and it needs to be affordable, and that's all I was really going for. But now I can start having a bit more fun, and so yeah, something that algorithmically creates the music is obviously the next step. I've also been building a model for a while which allows you to take the songs like these songs, Truth and Freedom, and actually jump from sequence to sequence seamlessly. It used to be a feature in the sequencer, but I took it out because it only worked for the 16 sequences, and I got confused once I had 64 sequences. I wasn't sure what to do with those buttons, so I removed them. But it's a lot of fun being able to just quickly jump from sequence to sequence. Really allows you to play live, and so to being able to do that with an existing song, and then also algorithmically, something you can do as well. So you can be jumping from sequence to sequence, and that doesn't even mean you have to stick to one song. We can just grab any Audional inscribed song file on chain and just grab a specific sequence or a specific instrument in a specific bar. So once there's more and more music out there, it's going to be a lot of fun and games we can play with music. So I might as well play some of these. Again, I'll try and play something from the chain. Let's have a look at, I don't know if there's any numbers I recognize as being higher seeds. Don't know. Let's just pick one. Interesting here, I was saying about how with I love cheese, in the inscription, this doesn't work. I'm never sure why. There's no error. It just doesn't work unless I actually go to the content page, and then it works. And I've still got these slight gremlins with these guys, because these guys in their full glory, they rotate. But for some reason, in all the inscription pages, the rotation is restricted to just being internal. The whole model doesn't rotate unless you go and view it on Audionals.com in the content page, and then you see it in all its majesty. But it still it does what it says on the tin in terms of distributing music. Let's have a listen to a couple of these. back. Whoa, there you go. Oh, listen to my laptop. It's trying so hard. It's like a little train. Choo choo.
Truth.
What's going on? What can I do to help?
Truth.
Oh dear.
Truth.
It's hard.
Truth. 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 Truth.
I think I'll have to put it out of its misery here. Oh dear. That was hard work, wasn't it? Wow. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of expecting that, but it did so well in the first one, I thought I'd get away with it. I wonder if it'll do the same for freedom. There's only one way to find out.
Freedom to transact by Ash.
No, it's not going to play. Okay, so maybe I will have to play that one from the video later, but we can move on quickly for now, I think. I was just going to go on to talk about some of the people that I've met over the last few weeks. Solom is one of them. Solom's amazing glitch artist and sort of combining code with art, which is kind of partly where I'm coming from as an artist now, I guess, sort of technology and art combined. But yeah, he's someone to keep an eye on. He's also just really wants to be on the cutting edge. He's very keen to sort of be looking for ways to sort of broaden the appeal and the utility of his work. And we together last week we were hanging out. Really interesting chat, actually. Like last week's show, I think maybe it was late. Was it late? Last week was a bit of a blur, but I think it was on Friday. But chatting with Solom and Zedzeroth and C12, these two, like, I struggle to keep up with what they're doing in terms of, like, there's something so beautiful and so organic about it. There's nothing clunky, and sometimes clunky makes things easier to understand, for me anyway. But so this stuff, the stuff these guys are doing with, like, breedable ordinals, like, you should really check this out. Need to do a little bit of reading into it. I know some wallets, like I think Unisat wallet was mentioned. I didn't have one, so I have them put in a different wallet, but I think you've got to access some pretty advanced stuff, but it's all, like I said, it's all organic on chain. It's really clever, and it's demonstrating in a really easy to understand way, using flowers, some pretty crazy powers and just things that you can do with data on chain. So it looks really cool when it's visual like this, and there will also be audio type applications for this, but both of these are in a kind of creative vein, whereas there's some super interesting stuff that goes beyond that in terms of where this stuff can lead. And that also leads me on to the Astral Architect, who was someone else who I had on a chat probably a month or so ago, but he is really the DMT master, has also come up with DDT, Digital Dimensions Theory, which is, just taking DMT to another level. DMT already is really, mind opening in terms of creating some elements of fairness, but with programmable, just being able to create programmable apps that just leverage Bitcoin into their offering. But DDT takes that into like a 3-dimensional level, and you start looking at what's in the harmonics. What happens when you combine two different DMT elements to form other things. Where are those refractions leading? And so that's he's definitely worth a follow if you're looking into DMT stuff. In fact, he does loads of educational stuff as well. I mean, I think all of these guys kind of do that stuff. They're of that level. But Astral Architect has got a whole load of different documentation and material. He's also writing some cool sci-fi stuff on the side. But really, if you want to learn about that stuff and you want to kind of have your mind kind of opened in a way to what's beyond just the coolness of DMT, when you start to really play with the numbers, there's some amazing stuff coming there. We were having a conversation with someone a few days ago about I'm just going to leave that for now. That doesn't matter. Let's come back to this. Hash Art. So Hash Magic. Hash Magic is someone else who also is just really worth checking out. He's like a code juggernaut. He just has ideas and turns them into things at like lightning speed, which again, if you're like an innovator or you're kind of in the space to find out about the stuff that can't really be done, or that people say can't be done, and then you want to find the people who will say, nothing can't be done in this space, this is probably one of the places where you might start, because he is a force to be reckoned with. And he was doing this thing, an app a day. I don't know if he's still doing it, but it's like every day he's like, okay, here's an idea, like I'm just going to pull something out of here now. It's like a whiteboard that you share with friends or whatever. It's like all these different ideas. He's got a paint app where you can create images just like you would in paint, but it's inscribed. It's an ordinal. And then in a similar way that with what I'm doing with music, you can create something and then you can save it, but you're not saving the JPEG. You're not saving, these high resolution images. You're able to save everything as just instructions, as data in a program that can have its own custom, control. So everything that it can know everything about how to serialize and compress and then read its data. You can get these files into text, then you can get them into binary. And this is what Hash Magic was doing with Paint. And I'm very forever grateful, because I reached out to a few people about this when I was getting ready to put out the first songs, or Truth. But the size of the files was around 30 kilobytes, which was fine for a master, because then you can distribute it in much cheaper ways, and you can still add all of that that rarity and that all those different traits, and applying random fact, to create those long form generative things that can all still be done. But it just saves a huge amount of space if you can, and cost for people if you can get that master down as well. So even though the master was 30 kilobytes and then distributing it was 150 bytes, at 30 or 40 cents, the cost of the master was still going to be, there was going to be some friction there, certainly for people who might want to put out a lot of music. You might want to really make this space come to life, with lots of creations. So getting that cost down was important, and so I had an idea, put the feelers out there. A few people got back to me. The first person to get back to me with a solution was Hashmagic, who had what I was asking for, which I was like, has anyone inscribed any gzip libraries? And then he said, yes, I did for this paint app. So I created a sort of program to grab that library out of his inscription, make it usable by the Audionals platform, the Audionals player, and then just like that we just went 10x smaller. We went from a 30 kilobyte master file, which had already been shrunken down from around 150 kilobytes when it comes out of the sequencer, to a 3 kilobyte gzip file, which is where we're at now, which is like just a few dollars for your master once you've created a song on the sequencer. So yeah, big thanks to Hashmagic for that, because that really was the cherry on the top at the end that really made me ready to just open the gates, because I've been working on this for a couple of years now, longer before Audionals, looking for ways to do interesting things on chain, but was working on stacks until Audionals came along, and now I still believe that this solution is going to move back in that direction, but we can start here by creating some very valuable on-chain assets, which later can actually be recursively traded and used on a layer 2, where they're going to be much more flexible, and there'll be a lot more, everything we can do here gets turbocharged on layer 2, and that includes development like what I'm doing, like people building modular systems. When you suddenly bring you take the speed of like confirmation up, you take the cost of transactions right down, so they're a fraction of what they are on Bitcoin. Obviously that means that developers, people who are putting large amounts of code on, they don't have that friction. The friction I've been trying to remove for music, it still needs to be removed for code. That's a harder thing. But so when we go to layer 2, not so much of a problem. Coders can just be much more exploratory with their code, so they don't have to be so precious about what they actually inscribe, and then things can move a bit more quickly in terms of development. But this is a person you want to follow if you're in that realm, because I think people who encourage a community of developers and share their ideas with developers, who kind of get that idea of the rising tide raising all ships. Don't follow the money, follow the ideas. The money follows the ideas as well, and so those two things come together. If you follow the money, or you're coming at things from a funny angle, I think, but people will find money when they just stop listening to other people and follow the actual ideas that they think are clever or innovative. So yeah, that's Hash. Wizards of Ord, I've just been finding out about this just in the last couple of days. In fact, I should have put EOM in here, but EOM Games is someone who this is going beyond the Audionals show. All of those guests I've had on the show, in fact, I haven't had Hash, but he's just been crucial to that story there. But EOM Games and the Wizards of Ord, EOM is someone who I've worked with and known on and off for several years now, and he was super helpful in getting the first Audionals platform kind of up and running, so that we were able to offer a minting service for people to create Audional samples, but they were super expensive at the time. Just a heads up to EOM. We had a little catch up the other day. It was really nice chatting to him, but he's introduced me to these guys who are behind Ord stuff. Who, if anyone who's been trying to install the Ord server so that you can run a node, you've probably gone via Ord stuff, and beyond that, there's way more special stuff that they've done. They're like kind of behind the earliest of the early innovation, and even a fork, I believe, of Audionals. Again, right over my head, all that stuff. But I tried to get my node running. I put days and then eventually weeks into it, and it just never really got anywhere. I'm still running a Bitcoin node, but I can't seem to get the Ord up and running. But in light of recent events, I think I've got more of a fire burning under me to try and get this working. Got a really great solution. In fact, came up chatting to Zedzeroth and C12 and Solomon. We were talking about the padding, something that goes in all these ordinals, and gave me an idea about trying to get royalties in the padding. And then, having done some research since, it's totally a viable solution. It's just about the education, just about telling people, what you're going to do, that you're going to send someone royalties in the form of what appears to be just a regular inscription, which, to all accounts and purposes it is. I haven't put the I didn't put it in here, the picture of the receipt, but I've created an inscription that can generate a royalty receipt when it's just fed with some data, like the name of the collection logo. All of these things must be already on chain. There's nothing really clever going on here. It's just putting together a little document to say, okay, here's a song that went out. Here's the link to the song, and then within that song there's a link to the person's to the ordinal that was used in the song. So for example, Truth, it uses 16 different samples, and so each of those samples live in an ordinal's wallet. It turned out to be really difficult finding my way from an ordinal if all I have to go on is an ordinal ID that I know is used in the song, because the song's file says, as I'm putting together the song, I grab this from there, I grab the kick drum from there, the hi-hat from there, this synth from there. And so all of those ordinal IDs, that's all I need to at least identify the rightful recipient, whoever owns that wallet that holds that piece of sound that I used. But how do I pay them actual Bitcoin? Now we can create this little NFT that gives them all of these details and says, you're part of one of 16, here's your share of the Bitcoin, minus whatever the cost of creating this receipt was, which is minimal. It's a few sats basically. It's a tiny file. Maybe a few dollars. Even when the price goes right up, it might get to a few dollars. But for if that's the entire price of like you receiving hundreds or thousands of royalties, it's just going to be a few dollars. I think most musicians would fall over themselves over that. And so this might be the solution. It's like I can package it up. The only problem is that a lot of these people, like some of the people I've paid royalties to for Truth, and people in the future, when it's decentralized, people who, a lot of sample holders, I've got to know them over time, but a lot of the early audio, I don't know. And in fact, in a lot of cases, nobody knows who inscribed all of those farts early on. But if they get used in a work of art in the future, even those farts, there's hundreds of them. They're in around the 7,000s or something. They rightfully earn a royalty in the eyes of this system, and so it needs to be decentralized, and so they need to be able to send something directly to that wallet. And so this is a way of doing it, but how do we know those people are going to figure this out? So it arrives in a document effectively that says, I am a royalty payment and I contain royalties, and here are some instructions for how you need to get these royalties out of here. And then preferably, it'd be amazing to even program it so once the royalties are taken out, it changes. At the moment, I just had sort of disclaimer text saying, if you're not the first recipient of this, then you can ignore above unless someone has inadvertently sent it out. But that's the kind of worry, is that people don't realize. But I think if it's a clear enough document that says what it's doing, and also it's educating people as it goes to say, hey, someone just sold a song last week and it contained your sample, they're giving you share of a 20% royalty, here's $200, as happened last week. It's like it's a gift that not only makes someone's day, someone who again was not out looking for money when they did that. I don't think anyone who inscribed early audio on chain was thinking this is going to earn me money one day. They might have been thinking this is going to be worth money one day. They never thought they would just hold on to it and earn money for it one day. which is what's happening now. And so that is both an enlightening experience for them, but also an encouraging experience to get creative, because we're in that super efficient pay it back environment where middlemen are gone. It's just between artists and the chain of creation and consumption, and between them all, everyone can win. One of my main games is getting the price of distributing music down so it's cheaper and cheaper. It felt to me like a free mint of $7 was still a lot. That's far from free. I appreciate we need to pay some fees, but we've got to get that cheaper for music. It's not supposed to be collectible. I don't really want people thinking, that these things are going to be worth loads of money. I don't disagree that these very early ones, they probably are going to be worth a lot of money, but that's not my goal. My goal is to get to the point where they have the worth of music between a musician and their fans that creates an economy that's not based on ideas or whatever. It's based on what exactly the same relationship is based on in the real world, which is between a musician and their fans' desire to consume and the musician's desire to create, and create that perpetual cycle between them. And the thing that stops all of that right now in crypto has been the cost of entry. That's the big barrier, dead end, both in terms of consumption and production. So production was my first goal. We got that down to, I think, pretty reasonable. I mean, again, at max at the moment, sort of $5 for a master. That's great, but now we need to get it down for the consumers, and we've got to deal with this. I've had quite a lot of conversations lately, I guess, because I've been putting out collections and receiving money, and I've been asking people to pay me for my art for the first time, and having conversations where people have expectations, and some of them are looking at music on chain and saying, I don't see what the value in this is if I can just listen to it anywhere. And I just don't, this idea doesn't sit all that well with me. And it's not just this whole Web3 ethos about, everything should be free. It's more like, I don't understand where that worry, that concern about music being public comes from, when we all know that music, the moment it's released in the real world, is about as public as it could be. I mean, maybe people try to make you think it's not, but it is. It's like the second anything is streamed, probably to the first 100 people that stream it, someone's recorded it, and now it's there and it spreads. And I think that this idea that the chain somehow cheapens the music is all I can think of. Is it's a myth that's perpetuated by the powers that be, because that's what they want you to think, but it's not true. All this does is creates exactly the same ecosystem in my mind, but where it says it's here if you want to look for it. Yes, it might take you 10 minutes more, but we all know if you're a fan of something, like, what if you're going to bump into them one day? Do you want to bump into them and say, I listen to your song on other people's wallets all the time? Or do you want to be able to prove in an instant with a single transaction that you're a genuine fan? And the whole idea of ownership and the relationship between fan and musician is completely turned on its head, reinvented here, and people have got to stop thinking about it in this two-dimensional way, because it benefits everybody. The musicians benefit far more from being on chain than they do from the total lack of real controls in the world for copyright and piracy. If they think unless they're literally Disney, this is why these bad guys are taking over Spotify. And everyone's got to just open their eyes to that and realize you're in the pockets of the wrong people. You need to be in the pay it back economy that we can have in Web3, where it just becomes this natural relationship, a market relationship that is not dictated by so many different voices in the real music industry, the lawyers, the artists, the labels, the managers, the publishers. It's just a mess of whoever shouts the loudest. That's how they get paid, whoever whoever can argue the longest, that's how such and such gets paid. It's a mess. And once it's all kind of on chain and transparent, and all of those voices are gone, and everything's just, you know, paid purely for participation, for usage, and no one has to argue about all the money, because it's not like a bunch of musicians and poor artists fighting over the scraps. They all get to feel wealthy, and hopefully, this is my aim, is that also the consumer feels like they get a good deal. And then people stop thinking, it's just an inscribed thing, I don't need to buy that, you know. I mean, you don't need to buy my stuff, because admittedly I'm talking about musicians and their fans, and I don't have fans, but it's you know, it's something that I think when musicians kind of realize that this just creates a whole new relationship, your music is no less protected by being here in terms of copyright or being able to access it or listen to it, but you are protected. Well, I mean, it's even more than that. That doesn't even say it. You're not protected. You're in charge. You're in control. Everything that happens is known by you. Every usage, like if someone makes money in an on-chain environment, someone packages up your song into something else. They put it into an advert that they're distributing as delegates. They put it into, you know, a collection where it's part of a collection where they're using lots of different tunes, and they sell it. Yeah, I can't promise that they're going to pay you, but I can 100% guarantee you're going to know it happened. And that's the best we can offer, and that's the best the chain can offer it. It does just keep everyone honest. And then they have to wear that on their sleeve. And this is the same thing with ownership between a fan and a musician. They have to wear it on their sleeve. If that's what you're going to do, if you're the person who takes someone else's work and sells it and then just takes the money for themselves, then you have to wear that on your sleeve. You have to own it. And I don't think most people don't want to do that. I think most people in a fair environment, when they realize it doesn't have to be dog eat dog, can just be pay it back, pay it forward, then, you know, people can start to just behave better. And again, no one's taking any percentage. You're all just thinking, my loss is in mining fees. That's how I think of my loss. There's no you know, invisible hands passing me my money and charging me for X, Y, and Z. It's just all there on chain. Anyway, I'll stop ranting now. Really great. Anyway, meeting all these people, such great ideas have come out of all my chats with these guys. Really looking forward to doing more chats with these guys, these proper OGs. Yeah, I just suddenly thought, should I go back into OBS? Was my mic muted? That would have been funny, wouldn't it? So yeah, I'm Jim.btc. Should follow me. I'm always meaning to do this, and I never actually do the social links, but Jim.btc, and I am behind Audionals, and also behind This Is Number One, and we did some of the first NFTs on Stacks. So I've been working between these two networks the whole time, and I have definitely not forgotten about Stacks. Stacks is where I think things lead. I've been working with Stacks 4 years now or something, 5 years. So I've definitely got my eye on the prize, and the prize is joining these two networks together in a really organic way, so that we have all of the security of Bitcoin and the flexibility and speed of a layer 2, all in a completely trustless, decentralized way. And it's coming, 100%. You better believe it. Audionals, follow at Audionals. That's this is like the official Twitter for Audionals. So I'll always be posting, new songs or whitelists or whatever. I'm kind of experimenting with different methods of putting collections out. It's not something I've ever, even after I've done a few of them on Stacks with This Is Number One for other artists, I still struggle to understand the real dynamic of what's going on. I guess that's partly because I guess I'm coming from a different place as well with terms of being that I'm trying to sell an evolving technology. Or I guess I'm trying to support the production of an evolving technology through selling some prototypes of the technology as it grows. This was all really nice, seeing people posting about the royalties. This is someone who I did actually know to contact. So, prior to having an Audionals based solution, got in touch with Color, who did one of the first, he was like the first remix or the first, third party artist with the original model back in those 20 million players that I created. He did another remix, which again I haven't queued up, but I'll play it on another show. But I was just saying to him the other day, I need your address. I've got royalties. I used your sample in Truth, and he had heard Truth. He'd bought Truth. He'd been in the groups chatting about it, but he didn't recognize his sample, which you can't. If you listen to Truth, it's the growl in the beginning of the song. Have I got it? It wasn't working, was it, before when I played it? But yeah, if you listen to Truth, there's this growl. Sounds like a dinosaur or a lion or something. But that's actually a recording that Color made in the very early days of Audionals. Maybe even one of my very first invitations on like the Audionals show or one of the other shows. And I've been talking about Audionals and Audionals as opposed to Audionals. What I've been coming up with, my new protocol. And Color was hooked, and he'd recorded it, and he actually inscribed me saying the word Audionals, and then sent me a link sometime later saying I inscribed this. So I used that, but in the sequencer and in the player, you can slow stuff down to 1%, which I did. So I slowed that recording, so it's me saying Audionals, and it's slowed down to 1%, and it just sounds like a completely, it's not recognizable in its previous form at all. But this just does go to demonstrate really nicely one of the additional benefits to working in this environment for artists and sample holders, because there's a huge amount of money and resources poured into trying to trace sample usage in the real world. It's just another thing that the artists pay for that. That's where that money comes from. Everything that happens in that world is paid for by the artists. And they don't even earn as much as half the people on that side, regardless of the hands that are sharing everything out. The artists are always the bottom of that heap. And so all of that is all paid for by the artist. And actually in this world, the blockchain just says to me, that growl is played in the song. And when I'm queuing up all of the sounds in the first 100th of a second to play this song, to create that growl, I go back here to this ordinal back in the 20 millions, and I grab it, and it's a recording of someone saying Audionals, but now I slow it down to 1%, and then that's what is then passed on to the song, and that all happens in that split second. But that's the Merkle tree of rights. There is that it's not like I just get a reference to the audio. The audio is literally used to create the sound, so I have to use it. It's not a reference. I go back, I have to get that sound of me saying Audionals, and then I have to slow it down by 1%, and then I have to buffer it into this song, because that's what this song demands. And if someone else now decides to fork from my song, and they just take Audionals that's slowed down, maybe they speed it back up again so it says Audionals, and then maybe they put a reverb on it, but then in that new song, in that 100th of a second before that song plays, it grabs the original vocal sample, it slows it down, it's forked, speeds it back up, adds a reverb. Again, both potentially modules that have their own royalty holders, the reverb, for example. But now it's played in another song. But again, when that song plays, the journey starts at the original sample. And again, it's not a reference. It's the DNA of the song. And it'll happen through 1,000 different artists remixing things and even merging things. Looking at what those guys were doing about breeding before. This is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of a utility. When an effect, bringing together different sounds in an effect, in a simple 3 kilobyte song file, one of the things it's doing is breeding these sounds and effects into a new thread, which again is just making sure that that thread always leads back to exactly where it starts, because that breeding is a programmatic thing that happens along the journey, but it still always starts with those original samples getting processed and buffered all along the way. So don't underestimate the power of this stuff. It goes beyond. I can't even do it justice, and I do try hard. So anyway, that'll do. Discord. Do you know what? Was I not showing those? How do I get back to that page? Chrome, that's it. So yeah, the Discord, is that not there? It's not actually showing the address there, is it? Let me see if I can open that out a little bit, and then you should be able to see it. Can you see that? Let me zoom in on it. So this is the Discord link. I think it's just an open invitation link. I don't know how else to post that, so I'm just, you can go to the Audionals Twitter and it's in there, so you can click it, but otherwise use that link to access the Audionals Discord, because that's kind of where I think probably things might get announced first. I have quite a lot of conversations in there, and I think I don't do a huge amount of marketing. I'm not all that organized. I don't do a lot of hype. The hype for me is just in believing, like, beyond belief I've ever really had before in sort of technology, that this is the right thing to do. So I don't feel I need to shout about it. I think everyone's doing themselves a favor by getting involved and getting their friends involved, in this, whether it's them being creators and putting their own music out and starting to make money themselves, or whether it's buying into the various collections that Audionals are putting out, or the musicians that we're supporting, to kind of get involved and buy some early music, as I like to call it. I think that was something else came up in the discussion the other night, was about people talking about how this new world we're in, it really is, it's a spark, it's the beginning, it's the spark of life just appeared in this blockchain, this crazy thing that some people have known for a while is kind of magic. It's like another force. That's, again, not to try and understate, but it's something like that. It's not as what it seems to be. But this stuff is just bursting into life, and some of these people I've been meeting the last few weeks, they get it. They get that this is something that is like, it's possibly more eternal than humanity, but it's something that is going to evolve and grow. And the quicker we can pull the brakes off, certainly in terms of technological, certainly in terms of cost, the better, and the faster we can move, and the more minds we have that are in that mindset, the better. So yeah, that was a long way of me saying I don't shout about it a lot, but I'm very confident, and I do chat in the Discord, but I'm just as likely to actually announce something when I'm replying to someone in the chat as I am to go in the announcements. I do put stuff in the announcements when I remember, but often just the fact that I've remembered at any point, or I've been reminded at any point, I will usually just try to deal with it then and there. So it's worth joining the Discord, just because that's where I might sometimes reveal stuff without having had a plan to reveal stuff, and then later I'll then get it on Twitter and get it into announcements. So it's good to join in there, and it's good to chat, and it's good to share stuff. I've created channels in the Discord specifically for people to use to share mixes, to get files. One of the super cool things about Discord, in fact, let me just go into the Audionals Discord for a moment, because so inside the Audionals Discord, I do a lot of announcements, and this is where you can keep up with stuff. But then, like I said, we've got these other pages in here, channels, share mixes, where people can come in and share mixes. I've done on the SPD. That's something else you can link to from the sequencer. It's pretty cool to play with. So that's not actually showing up, is it? I don't know why there's no audio there, but anyway, it's fun to play with. It's like an SPD pad, so these are all different audio samples, all playing at different speeds, all on chain, of course. This will actually be inscribed soon. It's actually work better as an inscription, ironically. So people can post mixes in here, share actual files in here, share your song files. Share. This is like the era of collaboration in this space is another thing that is kind of insane. When you think about kind of how complicated it can be collaborating with musicians, for example, when you're using something like Logic, and you are sharing files with other musicians, but then you've got to get the plugins. You've got to figure out, which plugins are you using? Have you got these same plugins? Have you got the license for these plugins? All of this kind of stuff, which is it can be quite upsetting sometimes. It can really get in the way of the creativity, which is always a shame and always should be. Our sort of first priority is to make things as efficient and simple as possible. But did I just close something there? Oh, I meant to play that, so I'll play that in a bit as well. Oh yeah, I've got a song queued up here to play as well. Now I've lost my train of thought. What was I saying about the sequencer? SPD, go and have a play with that. I can't remember what I was saying about the sequencer. But I guess the point was, play with it. Don't let its poor design and uninteresting looking colours and everything put you off, because it does super cool stuff. It's just a bunch of buttons and they all do the same thing. They just play a sound if you turn them on. That's a timeline. 64 steps. It plays from left to right. If you've got, what have we got in here? A cowbell. If you've got a cowbell and I play it on the first note, it'll play on the first note. If I want it to play all of the 4 notes in the bar, I can just put it on every beat. If I want it to do a drum roll, I can put it on 16ths. Great drum roll. But there you go. This is worth playing with, and come up with some good songs. We can inscribe them. So let's do it. So I was going to play this. This is the first song that has been put out, by a third party, by Based BTC, from the OB1s, the OB1 library. Again, another collection you should be following and looking into. Super collection, interesting stuff. It's where I merged my my tech into a sort of traditional collection of amazing art to create something that's totally innovative in terms of its art, that you can play live. You can open these pieces of art in tabs and just play them, make a song, and then just keep those tabs open, and you can mute them all. They've got key commands and hotkeys, which are not clear at all, but they are explained, I think, in the SPD. There's some explanations about the shortcuts, the hotkeys you can use when you're looking at those pieces to make them play or change pitch or change tempo, which is cool. But anyway, this is the first third-party collection to come out. I hope it does well. It's giving money to Ross Albright's charity, I think, from the Mint as well. I think this is just, again, the first of many. We're doing a lot of firsts at the moment, but this another first is people coming in with just different genres. There's so many opportunities for here. I wish I could really get people to see it and see that, look past the fact that you've got to push buttons and work in a really unfamiliar environment, because if you just start doing this now, this is the pioneering stage. This is the bit where people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you got a song out on that chain before such and such. I can't believe you had a song on Bitcoin before Snoop or French Montana or whoever sort of comes along next. And I wish them all the best as well. I just want people to just kind of jump in here. I haven't got the UI working to that point yet, but it's probably like you know, very small amount of work for me to kind of turn around your song into an inscribable file. And if you just have the recursive artwork ready to go, you know, we're ready to go. You've got a music collection like these guys.
I will commute the sentence.
Oh yeah, I forgot to say
it's also
got this cool thing when you load it. Let me see if I like that. I think it's different every time, is it? Or is it different versions? Or maybe that's the same, but different versions have different messages. Click Ross to play. Oh, what have I done? Have I broken it?
I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served.
Based.
Oh no, my laptop. Oh, it's doing it again. It's doing it again. Okay. I don't even know if I've even got a recording of that. Do I? Let's have a look in here. Do I have that one? No. I think I've got a loop. Looks like no, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. No. Okay. Well, I'll have to play that one next time. But go and check that out. I'll end with this one. This song. The other thing I have got here is the one I do want to play, which is the Cheese, I Love Cheese remix. So we started the show with I Love Cheese, and this is the new one. Oh no, I've done a weird fade there. Come on. Why are you showing Discord now? What have I done? There we go. Okay. Let's oh, you probably can't even hear me. It started playing. Oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. Oh dear. It's all got a bit on top of me towards the end here. So oh dear. Right. Okay, there we go. I think I'm back under control. So, yeah, so this one, the remix, is the one that I'm going to do, I think, as a, because that original file isn't quite ready, I think, for the collection. I'm going to do this drop to people who hold one of each, one freedom and one truth. I'll do a snapshot at some point once the file's ready to go. And it'll be the same kind of long form generative, you know, although I might do something interesting with the levels, so there are less levels or something. But or maybe turn the trippy mode on straight away. But yeah, so look out for that. Or you know, if you're really into what I'm doing here, then just get yourself one truth and one freedom. In time for the snapshot, which I guess will be in a week or so, and then you'll get airdropped a copy of I Love Cheese, the remix, which I'll play now.